Dispatch, pass me through to the game Overthinker. Overthinker, we got us a serious problem. City's being overrun by
zombies, I know! I'm dealing with it. The hell are these things coming from?
Sir, exactly how are video game zombies more of a threat or even significantly different than the regular game creatures you fought in every other episode?
Not a good time, Ivan. Start the episode.
Whatever.
Our universe rests on the uneasy border between two worlds. The world of man, ordinary and stable, and the world of games, imaginative and chaotic. Where these worlds collide, one man is called to stand for reason, maintain the balance, and destroy ignorance. He is the Game Overthinker.
Zombies. It just had to be zombies. You know, these days, zombies are damn near a standard feature of video games, especially shooters. If the game isn't about zombies to begin with, you can bet they'll show up as one of the first DLC packs. The modern games industry seems to love the undead almost as much as it loves space marines and nondescript desert locations. Strangely, this has all come about pretty recently. For how well zombies and video games go together, you typically didn't see them around back in the day. I mean, they were around, they were part of Dracula's all-monster entourage in Castlevania, they were a big presence in Ghosts and Goblins and Splatterhouse. I think most of the guys you were fighting in the NES Friday the 13th were supposed to be zombies, though who really cares? Hell, technically, all those things you fought in the first level of Altered Beast were zombies, but they were zombie versions of things that were already monsters, so I'm not sure if that's entirely the same thing. And I guess mummies are basically just really rich zombies, so you can throw Gibdo from the Zelda games on there too. But that's the thing. It used to be when you saw a zombie in a video game, it was part of a larger assortment of opponents, and usually not the most powerful variety at that. Whereas today, you'll find them featured as either the sole or primary antagonist of whole games, and they get entire DLC packs dedicated just to them, often for games that didn't have anything to do with zombies in the first place. That second part seems especially strange. So much effort gets put into the realism and tonal consistency of, say, Call of Duty or Red Dead Redemption, it's easy to imagine the developers balking if you came to them with a pitch for a DLC pack that turned all the bad guys into, say, giant bees or cotton candy monsters or rabbits or something, but zombie mode always seems to be enthusiastically welcomed. Why is that? What makes zombies so popular now, and why is that popularity translated so easily to video games? Well, to work it out, it'd probably help to first refresh ourselves on where the zombie concept came from. And yes, I'm aware some of this may have already been heard in a similar context from Extra Credits episode about zombies, but what are you gonna do? The facts are what they are. In any case, while many human cultures have a tradition of myths and legends regarding the dead rising from the grave, the term zombie is specifically derived from the traditions of voodoo, a Haitian religion that combines the beliefs and practices native to Africa and the West Indies with Catholicism, having grown out of the importation of African slaves to the island in the 16th century. In voodoo, a zombie is typically a dead corpse that has been animated through magic, though it can also refer to accounts of living people who have been rendered into an obedient state of living death through chemical or hypnotic means. The term entered the popular Western lexicon in the 1932 horror film White Zombie, but despite that film's notoriety, zombies didn't really catch on as monster movie mainstays the way vampires and werewolves did in the same era. In fact, they didn't become a part of mainstream horror lexicon until over 30 years later with George Romero's Night of the Living Dead. This is ground zero for our modern concept of a zombie, a reanimated dead body with a cannibalistic hunger for human flesh, though they're never actually called zombies in that movie, and Romero himself based the movie on Richard Matheson's viral vampire apocalypse story I Am Legend, and originally referred to his creatures as ghouls in reference to flesh-craving, graveyard-dwelling breeds of jinn found in Arabian folklore. Fans of the groundbreaking film and its even more popular sequel, Dawn of the Dead, however, started to call them zombies, and since their basic conception as dead-looking but otherwise normal humans could be replicated for relatively little expense, zombies in the Romero tradition became go-to antagonists for low-budget horror filmmakers. An explosion of zombie media followed, and those looking for fresh details wound up adding elements from older stories about The Walking Dead, like H.P. Lovecraft's Herbert West Reanimator or European legends of revenant vampires. So, yeah, that's where zombies come from, but why are they such a big deal now? With all the state-of-the-art special effects technology available allowing filmmakers to bring even the most preposterous-looking monster to life, why is far and away the most popular movie monster of the 21st century still just a guy in ripped clothes and gloppy makeup? Well, partially I think it's a remnant of the too-cool-for-school fixation on grounded realism that overtook so much of genre filmmaking at the turn of the millennium. In the immediate aftermath of 9/11, fantasy creatures didn't look quite as terrifying as the very real terrors playing out right in front of us. How scary is a xenomorph, really, compared to citywide human-caused devastation? Zombies, on the other hand, were just people. Strange, scary people out to cause harm for reasons we couldn't begin to comprehend. Which, come to think of it, was exactly how a lot of us came to view the newly emerged real bad guys. At least that's one way to look at it. As for why they became such a fixture in modern gaming, well, you could probably just say Resident Evil was popular, so everyone ripped it off, but I think there is more to it than just that, and some of it has to do with the evolution of enemy behavior in modern game design. Among the most significant changes to occur when gaming became able to move from single-screen settings to a scrolling game world in Super Mario Bros. Was the change in the relationship to enemies. In single-screen games, enemies were typically chasing or directly attacking you. In Super Mario Bros., most of the enemies are just in effect moving hazards, obstacles to be negotiated or avoided. The majority of Goombas, Troopas, Buzzy Beetles, etc. that you encounter move mindlessly in a straight line, back and forth or sometimes in a repeating pattern. In other words, they move like Romero zombies. And given that damn near every side-scrolling platformer that followed descends from Super Mario Bros. In some way, and that particular genre dominated the console scene for most of the 80s and 90s, enemies that behaved in that similar zombie-like way became a default for giant swaths of the Golden Age. In that respect, we've been building games around zombies for a long time. But in a modern age of sprawling 3D spaces and sophisticated graphics, just having enemies wander around getting in your way wasn't going to cut it, either from a realism perspective or a challenge perspective. So enemy AI became a big deal, and suddenly zombies, previously a shuffling sub-intelligent horde that would have been largely indistinguishable from any of the other shuffling sub-intelligent hordes, had something unique to offer. But that doesn't fully explain where our modern zombie fixation came from. After all, the other reason they started turning up in games is that they started turning up everywhere else. Not just movies, TV, comics, and whatever else, but everywhere. 21st century audiences can't seem to get enough of them. Why is that? What is it about zombies that so fascinates us? Or more to the point, what makes them so much fun to kill? I mean, let's be honest. You could pack those zombie mode DLC packs with any kind of out-of-place monster. Werewolves, giant insects, whatever. In some cases, it might be more visually dynamic, and it'd certainly set you apart from the pack. But when it comes to mowing down waves of monster cannon fodder, zombies seem to be the ultimate target of choice. Why is that? My theory, honestly, is that the reason we love to beat the fuck out of zombies is because at the end of the day, what we really want to beat the fuck out of is each other. And zombies are the monsters who most closely resemble just being an uglier, dumber version of everyone else. We live in a modern society of increasing social isolation, where advances in home entertainment and personal experience tailoring has dramatically reduced the amount of time you're forced to spend surrounded by the rest of the human race. As such, while we've made great strides as a culture toward getting along with each other as broad demographic groups, we seem to have lost some of our ability to cope with one another as individuals. More and more, our day-to-day lives seem to consist less of interactions with others as a means to move through the world. Instead, dealing with everybody else has become a matter of endless conflicts for position and time. You have your goals and your schedule, and everyone else is just one more obstacle to get through. You begin to get in the mindset that treating everyone else, say, jamming up traffic on your commute or standing in line ahead of you or choking up the sidewalk, as people with goals and needs of their own will just slow you down. Better to power through, dehumanize them in your mind. They aren't you, they're something else, they're an amorphous blob of anonymous subhumanity that exists to keep you from getting where you need to go. Sound like anything we've been talking about? Thing is, even though we've all had our fantasized defense, kill 'em all moments when dealing with the hell that is other people, we know that the fantasy of just going medieval on the rest of the species is wrong on a pretty fundamental level, which is why movies and other media that end up delivering on the cathartic one conquers many fantasy in the past usually helped by dehumanizing the enemy in some visually distinct way. Sometimes, uncomfortably, it was race, like in those old cowboy movies where it was supposedly okay to cheer on the high body count because the bad guys were just Indians with crazy war paint and feathers. Other times, it's been about the uniforms. Indiana Jones kills people left and right for the fun of the audience, but it's okay because they're wearing Nazi uniforms, which informs us that they're an other that it's okay to wail on, because nobody likes Nazis. Not exactly pleasant to consider from a human psychological perspective, but there you go. Zombies are the ultimate logical extreme of this kind of substitution. All the catharsis of venting your frustrations with the human race, with none of the psychological baggage of doing it to, say, the pedestrians in GTA, or the jail time of doing it in real life. Now, I don't bring this up to ruin the zombie genre for everyone, just to remind us all that it's intellectually healthy to consider why we like the things we like and what kind of factors enter into it, however uncomfortable. Of course, theoretically, it's also possible that zombies represent a perversion of life uniquely well-suited to gaming in a metatextual kind of way, i.e. the fact that video games are largely defined by good guys and bad guys constantly coming back from the dead, either through respawns or one-ups or whatever, or maybe that's a bit out of reach. What I do know is that these particular zombies currently represent a gigantic pain in my ass.
Alright, we'll be safe here for now. Ivan, pull everything we've got on zombies out of the archives. I'll go get the oversword and... Oh, wait. Go ahead, Commissioner Bunnyface.
It's Bonifacio. You watching G-Play?
Why would I be watching G-Play?
Well, you being a gamer and all, I just assumed.
Well, that doesn't mean I automatically watch G-Play.
Sorry.
We don't all watch G-Play, you know, or anything else on G-Wiz for that matter.
Sorry.
Gamers are a diverse community with a broad range of interests and a...
I said I was sorry. Look, just turn it on, okay? You're watching G-Wiz, the only network for gaming, games, and the largely imaginary demographic stereotype that a cabal of marketing executives for youth-targeted consumer goods believe to be representative of gamers. Aw, yeah. Now, back to getting your news on with G...
Greetings, mortals. Allow me to introduce myself. I am the Necro Thinker.
Not another one of these guys.
You're no doubt wondering why your streets are overrun with video game zombies. You are frightened, angry, and you want to know who is to blame. The answer is you. You brought this on yourselves. These creatures were like gods in their day. Benevolent creatures who sought only to bring you joy and asked only that you cherish them in the return. But instead, little by little, each time something newer and prettier came along, you abandoned them. You forgot them. You let their legacy and their memories sink into the earth like so much dust, until I called them forth.
I don't like where this is going.
And for what? What has taken their place? I look out on this world of so-called video games, and I see only corruption and degradation, oceans of brown and gray, inconsequential flotsam played on phones, strategy and skill replaced by a frantic flailing of limbs. You call these games? You call this gaming? These proud figures faded into nothingness for this? Unacceptable.
I'm not gonna lie. I foresee myself having some mixed emotions about kicking this guy's ass.
Heed my words. The gaming world must be restored to its former glory. I have loosed my army of the undead upon the usurpers and betrayers who have infected our world. Soon you will witness their first show of our power as the poison you call modern warfare falls to the cleansing fire I call Zombie Galaxian.
Shit.
Consider this a warning. Allow my zombies to do their work, and you may join us in a glorious new golden age. Oppose us and be destroyed. So says the Necro Thinker.
Well, you know what this means.
Yes, Ivan. It means we're gonna have to go see. We're gonna have to go see.
You alright, sir?
I can't seem to get the words out. We have to go see. We're gonna have to go...
Save Call of Duty?
Yes, that. Let's go do that thing.